Tēnā koutou katoa e te whānau. Welcome into another episode of Hoop Heads. No Brooke this week, he is out being Mr. Worldwide, but the show must go on. So without further ado, let's talk some hoops. This week on Hoop Heads, the Breakers are back home following their US tour. The Kahu go 2 from 2 in round 2, and we get our first look at this WNBA star. And the NBA is back, well, almost. It's a week away, but still, it's back. Kia ora e te whānau, no Brooke this week. I am Taylah Johnson, and joining me on the couch, Tom Abercrombie and Casey Frank. Plenty of hoops to talk about, but let's start off with the Breakers. They've obviously just finished the NBA tour. Results didn't really go their way, but were we expecting them to go their way? I mean, they are NBA teams, and were we expecting them to go up and surprise us?
Well, I mean, the Sixers did go there a year ago and get a dub over there, so you're always hoping for results. But the big main things that come out of this that I'm hoping that they get out of it were a team that knows each other a little bit better, has spent a little bit of time building the camaraderie, understanding what the coaching staff wants to do, and came back mostly healthy. I mean, mostly healthy, not 100%, but for the most part, everybody's good to go.
Yeah, let's take a look at some of the results so people can see what we're talking about. I mean, some of the games we were actually right up into it until about halfway, right?
They played some really good basketball over the course of this trip. I think against Utah, they really had their moments. They played really well. Obviously, the Philadelphia 76ers game was a bit of a write-off. And then really competitive again against the Thunder, playing as a pretty youthful Thunder team on the second night of a back-to-back. They only had 8 players suited up for that one, including ex-breaker Usman Dieng, which was cool to see him playing and playing really well. But, you know, 3 games for me, I think, is too many. It's a wonderful experience to go over there and get to do what they did, but 3 games in the middle, well, at the start of their season is a lot, but a good experience for a lot of these guys, especially young guys like Kareem Lopez and like Mojave King and guys like that.
Yeah, who else stood out for you? Because, I mean, PJC clearly carried everyone, and we heard it in the commentators, but anyone else stand up and put their hand up for maybe more minutes when he come back to the NBL?
Well, when you talk about more minutes, I think from that perspective, Mojave King was a guy who showed that he can come in, be a spark plug, really lift that level of energy and get some buckets in transition in particular. I think Kareem Lopez, I don't expect him to play a lot this year, but he really impressed as a player who looked like he fit athletically and IQ-wise on the NBA court. But I think overall, you don't take a lot out of these games. I think Petra Koponen already knew who was going to play for him, and this is just solidified in his mind.
Yeah, Tom, look, the Breakers were the only team that did the NBL-NBA crossover this year. Wise or not, is there still any merit in doing these crossover games?
I don't think so. As a player and going through it a number of years, I think it's a really tough one to bounce back from. The travel is significant, and the travel is already significant for the Breakers. It's really tough to go over there, come back. They're straight on the road again. They haven't come home yet. They've been in Brisbane for the last few days preparing for tonight's game against the Bullets. The one thing they do get to come back with is a big fella by the name of Taco. So he's coming back with the Breakers if he's fit. So they didn't come back with nothing.
Yeah.
That's a lot of extra luggage, man. I don't know. You might have had to pay double a plane
a lot of money. Well, let's look at the upcoming games. They've got 6 games in 19 days. That is huge. As you've already mentioned, they go straight to Brisbane. They don't even come home to see their families. They are on the road for a long time. It's going to be tough, isn't it?
13,000 kilometers to travel over those 19 days. I mean, they are just on the road, and road warriors are hoping to be. But it's going to be tough. They're already going to be fatigued from this U.S. trip. They're going to be more fatigued by this cross-Australian channel travel back and forth. I mean, this is a very tough ask for a squad that doesn't have a great idea of who they are just yet.
And it doesn't stop. We've got to remember, they've used up their bye weeks now, okay? So the rest of the season is just go, go, go for the Breakers. They have 5 home games spread regionally across New Zealand, which is wonderful to spread the Breakers across New Zealand, but that's more travel as well. So that fatigue factor, that hangover factor from coming back from America, that's going to linger for a little while. The great thing this year, they went over there with 2 wins under their belt, so they've got a little bit of confidence. They're obviously playing in a different system with a different coach, and maybe they've learned from experiences past, and they prepare themselves a little bit better for this next stretch. We'll see.
Maybe that's why they got to do some sightseeing instead of having like a training camp.
I know, we were in boot camp for 2 weeks.
They had a lot of fun time over there. Well, maybe that's the difference, because let's remind everyone as well, last time, the next 6 games when they returned last year, they were 1-5. And so how do they rebut that? Have they learnt their lessons? How do they stop that lull? Is it because they had fun?
Yeah, well, fun's a big part of it, yeah. Go over and have a little bit of fun, which was great. But I think good they get to come. They're playing Brisbane tonight, who, in my book, Brisbane, the worst team in the league at the moment. They're anchored down the bottom of the table. So they get to come back, build that confidence up, hopefully, and pick up a win against Brisbane. And then they come back 3-0 and take on a real test in the Perth Wildcats on Saturday.
But do they have to adjust their style of play? Because when we were watching those NBA games, I mean, some of the defense in pre-season for NBA is pretty optional. So is that going to be a little bit of a barrier for them going back into the NBL? Not necessarily being harder, but it is different to what they've been playing.
Well, it is going from that preseason style to what the regular season really is like. So you're going to have to lift that defensive intensity and I think lift their pace. Before they left, they were one of the slowest.
We know what that sound means. Hold your thought, because this just in from Justin Nelson.
Hey team, well, it's been a big week for the Southeast Melbourne Phoenix. Mike Kelly lasted 33 games in total. He's gone. Now, what is interesting is when Mike Kelly interviewed for the job, so too did our very own Judd Flavel. In that 33-game stretch for Mike Kelly, Judd Flavel has won 2 championships in the Sal's NBL and he's now the Tall Blacks coach. Would you have changed the decision at the time?
On the spot, I'm going straight to you, Tom.
Well, hindsight's a wonderful thing, isn't it? And obviously, looking at Mike Kelly's record over the last couple of years, I think Judd Flavel would have done a fantastic job with that Southeast Melbourne Phoenix team. But we've got to remember, everything happens for a reason. He didn't get the job, he comes back, he wins a couple of championships with the Rams, and all of a sudden, he's now the Tall Blacks coach. Maybe he wouldn't have had him had it not been for that.
Well, 2 things. One, I think Mike Kelly got a little bit of a short straw there. 5 games into the second season. You can't really build a program in 2 years from a program that needed rebuilding for when they started. But on the other hand, yeah, I think Judd would have been a great coach. He had some familiarity. He had coached in Southeast Melbourne. He'd been an assistant there for some time under Simon Mitchell. So I think the familiarity he had, I know what he is as a person, as a coach. He would have been able to implement his systems, and I think he would have done a great job connecting with players. So, yeah, a miss on their part.
How much of it is the roster itself and not necessarily the coach? Because as you said, after 5 games, that's really quick, and they knew what they were getting into with him being their coach last year.
I don't think there's a great fit in that roster. I think Derek Walton Jr. and Nathan Sobey are 2 opposite type players that you'd want to have on the backcourt. They're both guys who really need to have the ball in their hands, guys who are a bit mercurial scoring, so they go up, they go down, and when they're both down, it looks really bad. There's talent everywhere. They're a talented team. I love Jordan Hunter up front. I love Angus Glover coming off the bench. I think there's a lot of guys there who can play, but the mix of it doesn't seem like to be the right one.
Yeah, like Mike Kelly obviously couldn't get it to work, but that's not to say that it can't. And having that kind of talent at your disposal will be a challenge that will be relished by any new coach coming in. Having Sobey and Derek Walton there and trying to get those 2 to work together and get the most out of those 2. Like, if a new coach can come in and crack it, this team has the talent to be really good and be a playoff contender. I don't think they're going to win it all, but if they can figure it out, they can still make a push.
Well, the interim coach is Sam McKinnon, who is obviously the Taranaki Airs coach. So he's interim. He wants to be there long term. We'll see. But let's stick to the locals as well. The Tauihi competition, we're in round 2 and we're approaching round 3 this weekend. And how good was that Pauakai comeback against the Huho?
Well, fantastic. For them to be down 17 points in the second quarter, 12 points in the third quarter, amount 2 huge comebacks. For a team that isn't very deep, there's not a lot of energy reserves out there. They only had 6 players who played more than 1 minute of game time out there. So a very talented 5. Tough for the Hoiho to go down like that. They had that game in their hand. They were playing better basketball. But I just got to tip my hat to the Pauakai to get that done on the road.
Yeah, it showed some incredible composure to come back, not once but twice in this game. And as the Hoiho to build up a lead twice and then get it pegged back on you, that can be really deflating. And I think it just ground them down eventually in this one. But hats off to the Pauakai, fantastic win.
Is this like another rivalry we're seeing, you know, like the 2 southern teams?
I hope so. The more rivalries, the better.
Exactly. We love to see it. Let's talk about another rivalry, though, because we had another episode of the Queen's Kahu rivalry, and boy, did it really deliver a 3-point win to the Kahu. I mean, how good was that game?
They're playing so well right now. And they're playing this well without playing their best basketball. I think they're strong all over. They might be the deepest team in the league. And the way that Taylah Tupaia is leading things as a scorer out there on the perimeter, she's so tough right now. Her ability as a passer in transition really gives them some extra attacking moves so that you don't have to work. But it's what she does in the half court with this quick release that I think right now is making her as tough to guard as anybody else in the league.
Yeah, they've just got wonderful balance in their team, and I love the combination of Amari Thomas and Penina Davidson down low. I think those two, their strength that they bring to the game is just a real impact for that team, and they work really well together. Amari Thomas is fantastic to watch, how light she is on her feet and how well she moves. I think 3-0 from the Kahu to start the season, fantastic start from them.
The Kahu are 3 from 3. What do we need to do to stop them? If you're the other teams, what is in the game plan?
Well, I mean, first and foremost, I think I got to try and get somebody else other than Taylah Tupaya with the ball in their hands. I want somebody else initiating offense. But it's easier said than done because, as you mentioned, they've got that balance. They can just throw it in the post, let Penina Davidson go to work. That high-low action they have when Amari Thomas is flashing or Penina going in, they're such good passers out of that high post position. If you figure that out, you might be able to get a coaching job.
And these girls are going to have a target on their back, you know, starting the season off, probably as the favourites and as 3-0. Every team's going to be chasing them now and bringing their best shot, so it's going to make it even tougher for the Kahu, but I know they're up for the challenge.
We got a first look as well at Jordan Horston, who's obviously come over from the WNBA, and I love this analogy. 10,000 people she was playing in front of in Las Vegas in the WNBA playoffs just a couple weeks ago, and now she's in Porirua playing in the Tauihi. I mean, nowhere else in the world you'd rather be.
Yeah, like a pretty solid debut for her. 23 points, 5 rebounds, 3 assists. I don't think she played her best basketball. Pretty fresh off the plane and just trying to get to know her teammates and everything. But a really impressive debut nonetheless. I think she's going to be a wonderful character to have in our league and obviously a real talent.
Well, excellent size, fantastic athletic ability. She's so versatile. She can play really good defensively. She can be really good on the offensive end as well. And I think with her ability at switching with her and Stella Beck, I think they can do a lot of things once they figure out how to play. I mean, we talk about the Kahu, how good they are and how much depth of talent they have, but this Queen squad with Chagas, with Ji-Hoon Park, who is playing fantastically well, so efficient right now, I think they are certainly at least swimming in the same pool, and come the end of the season, they may end up being the more talented of the teams. Any
other players that you've got your eyes on? Because I really like Ashley Jones for the Phi.
Oh, any excuse to talk about Ashley Jones we will take. She has been so impressive to start the season. Just an all-round game, really smooth, great handle. She does a little bit of everything out there, and she has delivered every game so far this season. She's been really fun to watch.
Well, she plays at a pace that not a lot of women players down here play at. She is a WNBA speed player. When she's got the ball, she is downhill at all times, and it's very difficult to guard. She can go left, she can go right. That little crossover is nice, shoots the ball, rebounds really well for a guard, can get the assists as well.
Why does he always do it to you, Case?
I think Justin doesn't like you, but hey, this Justin...
Okay, team, the biggest winners in round 2 of GJ Gardner Holmes Tauihi, arguably the Chemist Warehouse. And I'll tell you why. 131 fouls, 164 free throws in just 3 games. The players, they're not adapting to the whistle. The Chemist Warehouse is working overtime. What will happen in round 3?
What do we need to do to get the game to flow a bit more? Because no one likes a stop-start game.
Well, Justin said players aren't adapting to the whistle. I say the opposite. I see players understanding that the game's being called super tight and they're just putting their head down and drawing fouls because they're getting rewarded right now. So as a player, 3 points at the free throw line, you take that all the time.
You know, whistles being blown, I don't mind contact being called by the officials on players who are driving in the shooting motion. But away from the basketball, the rough and tumble in the post, I think some of that you can let go. You can police that without blowing the whistle. You can be a little bit more vocal, tell players to stop doing it. You're going to start calling it. But at the end of the day, as much as I would like to blame the refs, Tommy, I'm going to have to blame the players. I think that you're going to have to see, hey, they're calling it tight. We need to do a better job defensively, keeping our hands out and not sending our opponents to the line.
How much does the whistle, though, impact the flow of a game for a player individually? Because surely you don't want to keep just walking over to the line.
Well,
depends on the fitness.
Yeah, depends on the fitness, depends on the team.
Casey liked walking over to the line, but in terms of, you know, getting your shooting rhythm going.
Yeah, well, some teams like to play fast. They want the game to be up-tempo and fast, and some teams like to slow it down and be a bit more methodical with how they go about things. So it really is up to the individual teams, but as Casey said, the onus comes on the players, I think, at the moment, just to play slightly better defense, keep the hands out, and get this thing flowing a little bit more.
Well, one thing I love about basketball, it is pretty much all year round. We've got competitions galore, and in T-minus 7 days, we have the NBA tipping off, and it's a blockbuster first game, the Boston Celtics hosting the New York Knicks, and then straight after that, the Lakers with the Timberwolves. I mean, which game are you most looking forward to seeing?
Bronny James and the Lakers. Oh my God.
It's the Bronny Show.
You've changed, bro. You've changed.
The next franchise player, for sure.
Boston Celtics and
the
the
one
Knicks.
game he's going to get to play, and then he's going to the G League.
That's going to be a great moment. And all kidding aside, regardless of how talented he is, it's going to be pretty cool to see Bronny in the league. But I'm pumped for that Celtics-Knicks game.
Yeah.
You guys all know, at the beginning of the season, we have to get your picks for who is going to go all the way. You got to look into that crystal ball and tell us. So I'm going to start with you, Casey Frank. Who is in your top 5 to win it all?
Start with me. Okay, a lot of pressure on me to get this done. I'll talk to you about who I have in my top 5. These are the 5 teams that I think have a chance to make some noise this season. And we're going to start with the Minnesota Timberwolves. They made a run to the Western Conference Finals last year. Picking up this guy, Dante DiVincenzo, as well as Julius Randle, I think makes them a better team than they were a year ago. Next in line, I'm going with the Milwaukee Bucks. Everybody hated on these guys last year, but I think Dame's been in the lab. I think he's going to come back as good as he's ever been this season. And they got this guy named Giannis, can be the best player in the NBA on any given night. So I like to go with the talent, and I think he's the best player in the East. That's why they have a chance to go. My third pick, the third up in there, is the Dallas Mavericks. They were in the finals a season ago, drawn by Luka Doncic, the way that he played, the way that he plays, you always have a chance if he's on the court. Now, my second team, the number 2 chance to get things done is the OKC Thunder. You want to know why? Because they're so deep, I barely know who this guy is, but the starting 5 is phenomenal. The way that they brought in Hartenstein, they brought in Alex Caruso, I think they've gotten even better, and they are the deepest team in the league with an MVP talent in Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. And of course, to finish things off, unfortunately, I have to say the Boston Celtics. It pains me to do so, but the defending champs are the best team in the league talent-wise. They have that experience now, and they are hungry and thirsty for more. But Tommy, my man, what do you got coming now?
Well, Case, I've got the same, but just a little bit different, all right? And at number 5, I have the OKC Thunder. As you said, Hartenstein, Caruso coming into this squad, I think they are fantastic additions. Led by Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, the MVP contender, I think these guys are going to be really tough to beat. My dark horse at number 4, the Houston Rockets. I don't think they're going to win.
Pandering.
But I love the way that they play.
What are they paying is what I want to know.
Stevie Adams, man, we've got to show some love for the Kiwis, although they've got a couple of Aussies in their team now too as well. We'll see how they go, but they're fun to watch. At number 3, I have the Minnesota Timberwolves. Obviously, Anthony Edwards and what that team was able to do last year, I think they're going to build upon that and be even better come this season. At number 2, the New York Knicks. This team I'm really excited about. They play an exciting brand of basketball, Jalen Brunson. They bring in Karl Anthony Towns, a really superstar big man who I think is going to just transform the way that they play, and they can make that next step. But to make the next step and beat the Boston Celtics is going to be a tall ask. They are the defending champs for a reason. They are very solid all across the board. They showed just how good they were last year, and they are the ones to beat come this season once again.
Very interesting. Both of you guys, as you say, same but different. A couple of differences though, but no one picked the Nuggets.
They were one of the harder teams for me to leave off because he is the best player in the NBA right now. He's the MVP, and he makes everyone better. What I don't like is Jamal Murray and the way he looked at the Olympics and the way he looked in the playoffs. He has not been healthy outside of that one championship run. The team's gotten worse because they've got to sign Aaron Gordon. They've got to re-sign some other guys. Yeah. They're not as talented as they were last year, much less 2 seasons ago, so I just don't think they've got the talent.
Are there any new combos that you're looking forward to seeing? Because obviously there's always lots of trades in the off-season. Any new combos?
I really am interested to see just how Klay Thompson fits in with the Mavs. I love Klay, big fan of his game. He hasn't had a great start to the preseason. He started off about 3 for 30 in the preseason, so he's getting all his misses out of the way early.
Let's hope.
And they haven't had Luka yet either. And his combination with Luka and Kyrie and how those 3 work together, I'm really excited just to see how that all fits and works. And hopefully this is a chance for Klay to get that start again in a different environment and spur him on to find some of his best form again.
Honorable mention to the Suns, who actually have a point guard this year, so maybe they'll win some games late.
Before I move on, just one question and just give me one team. Wooden Spooners?
Washington.
I'm going to go Toronto.
Okay.
But Wizards are right there.
No friends in Canada for you, that's for sure. WNBA, let's talk about that because it has been a hell of a series. We just saw the game winner coming from Sabrina Ionescu to get the Liberty up over the Minnesota Lynx. I mean, how have you enjoyed that final series?
It's been fantastic. I think the first game, the Liberty, they were to build up a massive lead and they get pegged back by the Lynx. Fantastic finish, obviously, in today's game to see Sabrina hit that three to win it. It's been a great final series so far. We want nice, close games with exciting finishes, and it delivered so far.
Two really good teams. I think the Lynx were much better than most people expected them to be throughout the season. A lot of that is because Fee Collier, the way that she's been playing, and with that matchup with Breanna Stewart, I really think that Collier has to be better. She has to be a level above Breanna Stewart for the Lynx to be able to win consistently. And right now, at best, it's a wash. If not, Breanna Stewart's got a little bit of a hand up. So that matchup's my favorite one. But the way everybody else playing, especially Sabrina, has been pretty impressive.
You brought up Sabrina. Let's take a look at that shot because that was ice cold.
Ice. Water in the veins. This is like she had the three-point contest against Steph. That's a Steph-like shot. And she really was. She was Caitlin before Caitlin, man. A few years out of Oregon, she didn't get. She had that same level of buzz because of her ability to do that. I mean, that is ice cold water. You do not hit shots like that if you've got fear.
That is big time. I love her shoes too. She's rocking the Sabrinas. She started the walk back too, just like Steph as well. She knew it was good when it left her hands. That was pure.
Killer. She's a straight
killer. And
killer.
let's talk about that crowd too. I mean, I can't be the only one that thinks this is the most popular the WNBA has been. People are watching it, you know, specifically watching this final series, and they probably never would have watched the WNBA final series before. Yeah,
like we're watching it on TV, but you can feel that atmosphere through the screen. You know, the Minnesota fans turned out and made some noise in that game and almost willed their team to victory. But fantastic to see such a wicked environment, and finals always are, but this looked awesome.
And the most viewed finals game in history was Game 1. You're absolutely right. More people are tuning in. The spotlight has been brought by Caitlin, but the spotlight has shined brightly on all that is good about this competition, the quality of these players. And the NBA is great, but if you ask me, the WNBA is a harder league to make. There's less teams.
Yes.
It is dog eat dog. You have to be a killer to get in that league. There is no filler whatsoever on any roster across that competition, and that's one of the things I think makes it so special.
Who's going to take out the series?
I'm going to go with the Liberty. I think they've got the advantage now, and they have home court advantage too. It's theirs to lose, really.
Well, I think that these two wins going up 2-1, they're in a great position to get this monkey off their back about being this talented team that can't finish it. But I can't go away from Fee Collier and the Lynx, man. There's something about that.
Bring on Game 5, come on, we want a Game 5.
I love it. Let's go get some popcorn and watch the next couple of games. But let's stick with women's basketball because Tauihi, we're entering round 3 this weekend. Tukumanua Queens will host the Tauranga 5. Mainland Poakai will host the Northern Kahu undefeated. Do they have the secret sauce, the Poakai? Let's find out. And then the Hoiho will play the 5. They have a short turnaround. And then also coming up tonight, Brisbane Bullets will host the Breakers. It'll be interesting to see how they adapt. And the Minnesota Lynx and the New York Liberty. And Boston Celtics, New York Knicks on a Wednesday. That is going to be very exciting. Really looking forward to watching all of those hoops. Who are you looking forward to seeing the most out of all those games we've just seen?
I think I'm really looking forward to this Queens Cup 5 game. I think it's going to have a playoff-type atmosphere. The Queens, they need to get on the right foot.
Yeah.
You got the lowest-scoring team in the league in the Queens against the highest-scoring team in the Phi. And this Phi team doesn't even have 2 of their imports. So they've been really impressive so far.
What about you?
Bring on the NBA. We've been waiting a while. It's never far from our minds, but it's time for this season to kick off. And what better way to kick it off than Boston and New York?
Am I the only one that wants to see the Breakers and how they've adapted after the NBA? I mean, anyway, guys, plenty of basketball to watch coming up. But, you know what, Justin?
It wasn't me this time. Thanks, Justin.
You can have the last say of the show because I'm sick of this hooter. Here you go, Justin.
Hang on, stop. Don't go any further. We are all about breaking big stories on Hoopheads, and next week, maybe the biggest story of all. Do not miss it. Hoopheads next week. Massive news coming your way.
Interesting. Any guesses? Any guesses to what it could be? I mean, I hope it's a really big player signing.
I actually know, so I'm not going to share my information. But you guys can make some guesses.
Maybe Justin's got a little interview with Taco lined up or something. That would be big.
That'll be big. That'll be very big. Well, you're going to have to tune in. Yeah, that'll be very, very big.
I see what you did.
Well, you're going to have to tune in to Hoopheads next week. Brooke Roscoe will be back. He will be here in this hot seat, and there'll be plenty to talk about because that will be the day the NBA games have started. So we will see you next week.
Another chance for Minnesota. Williams connects! And a play that may live forever in WNBA history. King tosses it at the rim.